Hi there and welcome back, where today we're going to be talking about Hate by BAND-MAID. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, but Howard, that's the last track on the album. Why are you starting with the last track on the album? Or maybe you're new to this channel and you're thinking, who are you, Howard? And why are you trying to tell me what I'm thinking? Well, the simple answer to whoever you are, dear listener, is that we will be reviewing every single song on this new Unleash EP and then going back around and doing a final conclusion where we talk about the entire album as a whole. But I decided, well, you know what? I write scripts for these videos. These are not just reaction videos. We really have to think about everything I want to say. So I'm doing these in the order that I come to my final conclusions. And Hate is one of those songs where it really hit hard. And yes, I came to my final conclusion very quickly about what I wanted to say about this song, because wow, does it pack a punch. So as always, let's start with the coffee and the song structure. I'm really not sure that coffee is supposed to smell like that. This is fresh. Anyway, talking of the song structure, this song is probably the most stripped back and simple in some ways, in that it really is a straight hard rock song, and an effective one at that, somewhat harkening back to what we first heard when BAND-MAID set their sound with songs like Thrill, and certainly as they started writing their own songs, the quintessential hard rock, which is at the core of what they do, is very much here. Yes, this album has a lot of throw everything at you, really full on sort of the rock equivalent of the Motown sound, play everything at 11 type songs, and we also saw a lot of that on Unseen World as well. But that's not to say that BAND-MAID's sound isn't still that quintessentially hard rock thing for the majority of the time, and sometimes it's good to focus on just doing a song that is directly that, and that's what Hate is. It's got a core riff, it's got a chorus that doesn't do too much sort of fast chord movements, it settles each chord in and allows the melody to really have room to breathe and be easy to follow, and it just sort of charges full on with just the energy of loud thumping kick drums and full turned up to 11 guitars thrashing away riffs and chords and all. And of course, big vocal notes from Psyche. We'll get on to what she's singing about as well a little bit later on. But the thing which makes this interesting is, whereas I was not such a big fan, say, of Chemical Reaction on Unseen World, for me that was a song that, okay, it had a lot of fun, but it didn't manage to make it sort of come around with a chorus that was memorable. It was just, okay, it was a riff, and for me that was probably the least effective song on the album. This is a very different beast. See, we come in from the beginning with a real sort of charging riff. It's not a particularly complicated riff, but it's a riff that doesn't need to be in the same way as Chemical Reaction. It's just one that has to have you bobbing your head along, and it does that fantastically. Now, from that point, we get a verse that has an interesting melody, and the melody is really what encapsulates that feeling that there's a narrative to this. You're following the melody. The melody is always, as it moves through the verse, into the pre-chorus, into the chorus, it's always developing. You feel like you're following a journey even before you understand the lyrics, and that's one of the things that really works here, is that the riff and all that rock energy, although that's what's making you bounce your head along, it can be simple because that's the energy, but you have the narrative of an interesting melody to follow. And when we get into that chorus, boy does it pay you off with a really, really catchy chorus. Again, it's a simple chorus. The voice is kind of moving up and down with the chord pattern for the best part, but it works. And that is further infused by just the sheer furious energy of what Psyche's singing about. Again, we will get onto the lyrics in a minute, but it is important to remember that a lot of the simplicity of the song is backed up by the furious energy. I keep on really leaning into that F. Furious. She does sound really angry in this song. It would also be very remiss of me to talk about the song structure without talking about that bridge. Now, the bridge, for the best part, is following the chord pattern that the chorus sets up, which is basically a 3-chord progression going up, going up. I always talk about when we have those songs where the chord pattern's going from low, starts down low, hunkers down, then goes up, then goes up. That's a good way to build up the energy in a song. But, you know, you have to do something to make it a little bit more interesting. Anyone can just sort of do chords going up. It doesn't necessarily, therefore, make an interesting song. What I like, though, is that when the chord pattern gets to that 3rd chord in the progression, it kind of moves up and down a little bit. You get a little wavering, this sort of small chord pattern movements that aren't, you know, the guitar isn't really shifting to a totally different chord. It's just sort of going a little bit back, you know, another chord and back, up, down, up, down. You know, it's something to make it sound a little bit unsettled at the end of the chorus, and that allows you to then sort of resettle the listeners in by going back down to that chord and starting the chorus progression again. I like that sort of go low, up a bit, wavering a little bit, down, low, up. There's just something that feels, you can feel the emotion, and that's how you do a really emotionally driving song, is that you do sort of chord progressions and movements that really actually have, you can just sense the emotion by just talking about it before you even see the notes on the page. Anyway, talking of emotion, let's talk about these lyrics. Someone said that Psyche wrote these. Did Psyche write these? Because, yeah, let's talk about the lyrics. You've had enough. You don't mean anything anymore. You're nothing, you're nothing, you're nothing, you're nothing. Let's be honest. This song feels pretty angry. Now, I always dislike when people say, oh, I really know what the artist was thinking. It's nice to sort of have fun imagining what they're thinking, or maybe imagine from things they've talked about in their life. Maybe they've even said in an interview, in which case you get a little bit closer to knowing. But it's always hard to know exactly how much of a song is real and how much is not. I did, however, feel there was a real passion in the delivery, and this is a sort of set of lyrics. I'm reading a translation that was on ute5.com, so appreciation to whoever put that up. I couldn't see a name, but assuming it does seem to read true of what I gather of Japanese, having listened to the lyrics, having listened to the song. It is interesting, though, that you just get the feeling that there is something very honest about this. Now, I was quite caught, because at first it felt a little bit like, okay, the song's just kind of got almost a petulant, I hate you, hate vibe. I was also a little bit put off when I first saw the song title as just hate in capital letters. Admittedly, there was a question mark in the end, but I remember sort of thinking it just felt a bit petulant. But as with so many things, as I mentioned about the song Influencer, where the song actually ended up being much more interesting than the name possibly could have landed it being, the lyrics here, I feel like BAND-MAID are really stepping up their lyric game of recent, and this really caught me, this particular progression. Now, as it's translated, it reads, I feel like an idiot. Boring, boring, boring. I can't think about you. I can't stand to run away. I've fallen asleep in my dreams. You're nowhere to be found. Now, this just, to me, this is interesting, because this is where we go from just the pure rage to really sort of talking about the feeling in this song. So it says, I feel like an idiot. Boring, boring, boring. I can't think about you. I can't stand to run away. So we've got this image of someone who's trapped. It's the hatred is not so much of a you've done something that's really annoyed me. It's a feeling of I'm trapped in this cycle. I can't get rid of it. And then just this bit, I've fallen asleep in my dreams. You're nowhere to be found. So sort of translating that idea of being boring to I'm so bored I'm going to fall asleep. But then the idea that when I dream, you are so clearly not part of the future. Now, again, I'm not going to get into surmising who this is about, or if this even is about a real person. A lot of bands, a lot of the best bands just know how to take universal emotions and really translate them by taking a little bit of their own experience. But to me, this is a beautiful anthem of that idea of just, you know, I want to get on with my life. Why are you standing in the way? This could be something, yeah, it could be the emo generation. I hate you, mum, I hate you, dad. You're not my father. Or it could be just talking about a relationship. I think we've probably all experienced that when you're stuck in a relationship with someone, and maybe it could be a much more adult theme of maybe you live with someone, or maybe your relationship's based on something and you can't get out of it. I feel that whatever the personal instigation for this was, this is a song that really feels like it actually does have there's a sort of genuine emotional feeling that most people could probably relate to, of just, I want to get on with my life, and this is affecting me, and how something that could have started off as just a mundane irritation has built into basically a song that ends with, if I read the last progression, I believe this is correctly translated, I hate you, 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 don't give a shit no more, I hate you, 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 I hate you. And as direct as that is, the funny thing is that putting that right at the end, it does beautifully play into the idea that this is an emotion that has built up over time. And it just leads to that point where it's just, I don't care anymore. And so in a way, I liked that. I felt that this is one of those songs where having it be probably one of the more simple, if not the most simple song on said album is, and it's not to say it is just sort of too simple, it's just the right amount. There's something very direct about this song, and it plays into the idea that it's very narrative driven. I felt that Psyche again delivered it very well. She didn't overdo it. It wasn't a case of sort of overplaying that I'm so angry thing that again you can kind of get in some of those more emo style songs. This to me felt like a genuine feeling of a sort of mature anger, which is why, again, I'm not a big fan of a title. I know the question mark kind of helps, but hate in all capital letters. I feel that this song actually has something more to it. But then again, maybe the title could just sort of show, this is the pure raw emotion that you get from the building up of anger over time. Anyway, let's move on to talking about something a little bit more musical. Because we've got to talk about the technical stuff. Now, I must say, I felt this song was so full of like rocking energy. For me, it was a little bit too compressed. I love the fact they have a lot of clarity in their most recent songs. I love the fact they got really good mixes. Now, I don't often complain about compression because I think most people complain about compression way too much. And a lot of the time, I did a video about what compression is in this term because so many people talk about compression that clearly don't actually know what it is or don't understand the difference between compression as in like audio formats and actually compressing sound. But then again, there's a lot of people who do and still genuinely dislike it. And I dislike some of it, but the point is I think that people tend to complain a bit too much about compression. So I tend not to, unless it's something really severe. In this case, it certainly doesn't spoil the song. I loved listening to the song. I've listened to this so many times, really enjoyed it. However, I do kind of wish that there was a little bit less compression. I felt that, like, for example, the guitar riffing is a very clear, direct riff. And I don't think it had quite enough room to breathe. It kind of got squashed down a little bit into the drums and everything. So the compression was a bit much for me. I'm really looking forward to hearing this one live. I think this is one of those songs where it's so simple in the tone of it. It's so simple and so rock that this is going to translate brilliantly as a live song, I think. We've just got that pure raw energy. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing this one. It was a song that, though, nonetheless, it still benefited from a good mix in that, we did get to hear the sounds were sort of nicely, they all had good tone to them, they were all sort of pushed to their own sides, even if they were compressed, there was a good sort of stereo balance to everything as a general. Really got to hear Psyche's voice, which was just fantastic. I think she carried this so well. She gave that central narrative over the rock energy. Yeah, it was a song that ended up working. I think this could make for a really good music video as well, but it's not the most sort of standout, different, wow, that's a really different song that you wouldn't expect. But it's one where they took the core tenet of their hard rock sound and delivered something which was just genuinely, got it right. So yeah, I think this is a song that would be very easy for people to get into if they weren't so familiar with the band and were trying to get into the band's sound. This is a good starting point, and it's got a sort of raw emotion I think anyone can relate to. So let's move on to the conclusion. I'm not a big fan of sugar. Usually I go for like sugar-free drinks. Usually I go for like black coffee. I figure if I'm going to buy it in a can, I mean, black, might as well see what interesting flavor they can come up with. It's too much sugar. Where were we? Yeah, conclusion. So in conclusion, I pretty much already did the conclusion. This is a song that I think will be one that people can get into. I would say it's always an interesting question when band fans say things like, which song would you suggest to a new listener? This might not be number one of all their songs ever, but this is the sort of song that if you want to suggest something really recent of theirs to a new listener, this would be a good one. I think most hard rock fans would appreciate the way it comes in with a riff, but then develops it. It has a chorus that is simple but accessible, but is very catchy and also manages to sustain that energy. Again, like we had with the song Influencer that came out yesterday as well, the song knows to sort of go a little bit more on board with the nuances in the verse, but then just restrain that a little bit and just go for the more core energetic thumping on the beat style drum playing and guitar playing when we get to the chorus, so that the vocal can become the main focus. It's a song that is pushed by a vocal narrative. It's a song that has a bridge that is functional. It has a great little solo in there, but everything again is more about moving you forwards. The bass work, I didn't even mention Misa, but Misa has some fantastic bass work in here. And again, it's really great to hear her doing some little solos, but in that band-made way where the solos are for the sake of progressing the song rather than look how good we are as musicians, which should always be second to producing an entertaining article. And I think in the case of BAND-MAID it is. This is a song that is carefully restrained so as to give room for the emotion to come through. And I think that will make it both universally very accessible, but also something that people will find relatable. And I think that even for a BAND-MAID fan who might not think this to be their most nuanced and complicated song, it will be one that will stay with you when you just want a song that you can relate to. So it punches through with a very clear emotion. So there you go, those are my thoughts. As always, get in the comments, tell me what you think. Looking forward to hearing it. Please make sure that you check the ingredients of your coffee. Unfortunately, I'm in Korea right now, as many of you know, and therefore I can't check the ingredients because I can read the Japanese. I can't read Korean. So I don't know what this is, but I feel like I've had enough sugar that I'm probably not going to sleep for like a week. You know that whole thing about sugar giving you energy? It's not true. It's scientifically not true. So there you go. I finished this by saying a non-fact about dietary matters. So there you go. Until I hopefully see you very soon for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.